I've been running the biggest shop in the world for 5 years now, yet I haven't had a single customer. But every day, crowds of workers wheel out barrels of water, and come back hauling in massive piles of silver. This is the city's largest waterhouse. Just by selling water, we rake in 10,000 taels of silver every single month. But who would have thought? 5 years ago, a filthy rich guy like me was nothing but a starving beggar. Right when I was on my last breath, the ninth prince, Pei Chinfeng, suddenly found me. All because he had his eye on my ancestral jade pendant. Rumor had it, it held the secret to immortality. I knew damn well I couldn't keep a treasure like that. So, I flat out asked to trade it for a lifetime of wealth and glory. To my surprise, Pei Chinfeng agreed without missing a beat. And just like that, I became one of his loyal retainers. I thought I'd be living the high life with him forever. That is, until one day, 5 years later, Pei Chinfeng suddenly asked me a really weird question. If I were to give the jade pendant back to you, would you still want it? Little did he know, I turned him down without a second thought. Then I would have to repay your highness for all your grace. Why, just last year alone, I blew through 3,000 taels of silver. Even if I coughed up my own heart and lungs, I still couldn't pay you back. I beg of you, your highness, have mercy. Please, let me stay by your side and work like a dog for you. Ha 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 ha, well aren't you a carefree one? Blowing through 3,000 taels of silver in a single year. Still, a servant who knows how to spend money is a good servant. Much better than those worthless fools who don't even know how to spend it. Pei Chinfeng's laughter instantly washed away the thick killing intent in the room. Only then did I secretly let out a sigh of relief. I knew I had just dodged another bullet. I quickly chimed in with some flattery. Your highness is truly benevolent. Seeing Pei Chinfeng nod in satisfaction, I kept a respectful look on my face, but deep down, I couldn't help but laugh. After all, if it were anyone else, I probably would have been genuinely grateful to him. But me? I'm a transmigrator. I don't give a damn about this feudal etiquette. But hey, making a living is tough, and swallowing your pride is even tougher. When you're living under someone else's roof, you've got to bow your head. The reality is, a man's gotta eat. But what he said next made my heart skip a beat. Immortality is real in this world, he said. I have already made contact with an immortal. She actually wanted to meet you recently. Hearing the hidden warning in his words, I quickly put on a terrified face. I am but a lowly mortal. What right do I have to even cross an immortal's mind? Your ancestors were destined for immortality. That immortal was supposed to come looking for you. But you already chose to sell that jade pendant to me. Am I right? His words sent a cold shiver down my spine. But as a servant, I had no choice in the matter. All I could do was lower my head and agree. Go to the treasury and collect 1,000 taels of silver. I have always been fair with rewards and punishments. Since you are loyal to me, I naturally won't treat you poorly. This casual little reward of his was enough to feed tens of thousands of refugees for half a year. 3 days later, the royal estate was completely decked out, eagerly awaiting the immortal's arrival. Pei Chinfeng was dressed to the nines, standing right at the front. Meanwhile, I was squeezed in the back with a bunch of merchants, acting as a human backdrop. As I watched from a distance, the clouds above suddenly tore open. And then, the breathtakingly beautiful fairy Yun Luo slowly descended from the sky. The entire capital went dead silent. Then, deafening cheers erupted. Countless commoners instantly dropped to their knees in worship. The weird part was, whether she meant it or not, the fairy suddenly turned and faced exactly where I was standing. Everyone around me immediately dropped to their knees. I was the only idiot left standing. But in that moment, her beautiful silhouette was forever burned into my memory. I couldn't help but marvel at how wonderful it must be to become an immortal. By the time I snapped out of it, Fairy Yun Luo was already at the estate gates. Pei Chinfeng led his entire household to welcome her. Wearing my jade pendant proudly on his chest, he bowed respectfully. I, Pei Chinfeng, the ninth son of the Pei family, respectfully welcomed the immortal. But surprisingly, Yun Luo looked a bit confused, until she saw the jade pendant glowing with spiritual light, and decided not to look into it any further. She just assumed I had changed my name. Later, during the banquet at the prince's estate, even with those alluring dancing girls twirling their silks, Pei Chinfeng's eyes were glued straight to Fairy Yun Luo. Just as his desires were really heating up, Yun Luo suddenly pointed her finger. That jade pendant of yours. Ah, this is from 5 years ago. An expert guided me to this fated encounter. Stealing another's destiny is hardly good karma. Pei Qinfeng quickly pulled out a jade scroll he had prepared in advance. 3 years ago, the elders of your esteemed sect handed this decree of altered fate over to me. Fairy Yun Luo picked up the scroll. The spiritual aura, it definitely belonged to the sect's elders. But a second later, she slammed it down. A karmic bond set 5,000 years ago. And you think you can just casually alter it in 5 years? I'm certainly not someone who takes things by force, Fairy. The truth is, the Lu family's descendant reduced himself to a mere beggar. That's exactly why your sect's elders transferred the destiny to me. Besides, I promised that Lu boy a lifetime of wealth and glory. Do you honestly think that mortal wealth could ever compare to the destiny of becoming an immortal? Fairy Yun Luo's eyes looked as though they could pierce right through a man's soul. She knew the great Jing royal family must have offered a massive bribe. That was the only way the immortal sect would turn a blind eye to stealing the Lu family's destiny. But how could the sect's 10,000-year legacy be compromised by personal greed? So, she spoke up. Bring the Lu family descendant here. I want to verify this face to face. Brimming with confidence, Pei Qinfeng ordered his men to bring me in. And me? A lowly retainer? How could I possibly dare to defy him? Besides, he figured that after breaking me in for so long, he had me completely under his thumb. Half an incense stick later, Yun Luo stared at me, a mere mortal. She was deeply torn over whether reclaiming my destiny would actually do me any good. Even though it was decreed 5,000 years ago that the Lu descendant would be her Dao protector. I obviously stood no chance against a powerhouse like Pei Qinfeng. Not to mention, her own sect would never back her up. Did she really have to just bow down to the bigger picture? With that heavy thought, Fairy Yun Luo broke the silence. 5,000 years ago, your Lu family ancestors forged a karmic bond with my Du Chen sect. Would you like to hear the truth? Please, enlighten me, Fairy. It was agreed that if the Lu descendant proved worthy, we would guide them onto the path of immortality. But if they failed, they would be granted a lifetime of mortal wealth and glory. Just as Fairy Yun Luo was about to explain the details, Pei Qinfeng couldn't hold back and rudely cut in. I've already told him all about this. He gave it up to me entirely of his own free will. His Majesty, the Dao Sovereign Emperor, can testify to that. He bit down hard on the words Dao Sovereign Emperor, letting the threat hang in the air. Fairy Yun Luo's brow furrowed. If that was really the case, then this was completely out of her hands. Left with no choice, she picked up the jade scroll again and read aloud, "The decree is set. The descendant of the Lu family lacks ambition, reducing himself to a street beggar. He has willingly fallen into ruin, selling off his ancestors' karmic legacy. Thus, his immortal destiny shall be stripped and granted to the 9th son of the Pei family. The 9th son shall inherit this karma, and must therefore repay the debt." Hearing this, Pei Qinfeng let out a smug laugh. "I humbly accept the decree. I shall petition my royal father at the earliest opportunity, to secure a noble title for him. Then, so be it." Fairy Yun Luo fully expected me to jump at the offer with joy. But instead, I just stood there, completely frozen. The hope in my eyes completely shattered. After a long, heavy silence, I muttered a low response. A starving man has no luxury to talk about ambition. Honestly, if you gave me the choice again, I'd still sell that jade pendant. Because at the end of the day, a man just has to survive first. As for the future, I'll either swallow my pride until the day I die, or I'll snatch a lucky break and soar higher than the wind itself. Hearing this, Fairy Yun Luo felt a bitter pang of guilt. It was clearly the sect elders who committed this greedy sin. So why on earth was she forced to play the villain here? Out of pure guilt, she reached out and handed me a red pill. "This is a vital immortal elixir from my sect. Swallow this. It will prolong your life and grant you 100 years of perfect health. Let this be my small compensation to you." But little did she know right then, that this very decision would bind our fates together forever. The next second, I stared at that red pill, and a sharp prickling pain pierced right between my brows. It felt as if, the moment I swallowed it, something incredibly precious would be ripped away from me. Was it my destiny for immortality? But, even if it was, what could I even do? It was just like back then, when I knew how important that jade pendant was, but still had to obediently hand it over. Right then, Fairy Yunluo spoke in a soft, gentle voice. "I would never hurt you. Your destiny has been stolen away. If you don't take this pill, I'm afraid you won't live past the age of 30. I clenched my fists tight. So, my sickly body and constant illnesses, it was all because my destiny was stolen. Pei Qinfeng frowned impatiently at my silence. Just as he was about to force the decision on me, I jerked my head up. Tell me, Immortal Master, without this destiny, can I still cultivate? Naturally, you can. Immortal destiny is the will of heaven, but mortals still have their own life force. The founding master of my sect was a mortal who defied the heavens themselves. He needed no mandate from heaven, yet still ascended to immortality. How many founding masters do you think exist in this world? Stop being so damn arrogant. Swallow it, and I will grant you a hereditary noble title. Along with endless wealth and glory. In the end, I was just as powerless as I was back then. I had no choice but to swallow the red pill. In that exact moment, it felt like an invisible string snapping deep within my soul. I grant you the title of Marquis, with a fiefdom of 10,000 households. That night, the royal estate was brightly lit, hosting a grand banquet, while I just grabbed a jug of wine and drank myself into oblivion. I stumbled down to the Dragon Bridge. The chilly river breeze sobered me up a little. I let out a bitter, mocking laugh, bowing and scraping like a dog. That was my only way to survive. But if a man could live on his own 2 feet, why would anyone ever choose to kneel? As expected, after standing in the freezing wind last night, I fell sick the very next day. Good thing I was filthy rich now. I certainly didn't lack the money to hire a doctor. But this money was nothing more than a handout from the Pei family. And I was nothing more than the Pei family's obedient little dog. The thought made me clench my fists in rage. A burning thought suddenly flashed through my mind. I refused to be a helpless piece of meat on their chopping block anymore. I could feel a surge of energy hidden deep inside my body. It had to be from the red pill I swallowed yesterday. I have to seize this chance. But for now, I still need to stay close to Pei Qinfeng. I'll kiss up to him when I have to, and play the pathetic fool when needed. All because I'm just an ordinary mortal, with zero power to claim my own destiny. But as long as swallowing my pride brings me a real reward, then every bit of it will be worth it. Little did I know, that reward would come knocking so soon. Meanwhile, up on the Dragon Bridge, a squad of heavily armored soldiers was aggressively clearing the path. Fairy Yunluo, the Lu family estate is just up ahead. They spend over 10,000 taels of silver a year just to maintain it. You could say they're living in absolute luxury. Fairy Yunluo didn't say a single word in response. She refused to get tangled up in the dark, dirty politics of her sect. She only cared about keeping her conscience clear. That's why she paid out of her own pocket to compensate me, and made sure the Lu family descendants would live comfortably. When she finally stepped into the main hall, I was already waiting for her. Even though my face was still frighteningly pale, I stood tall, neither acting too humble nor arrogant, and bowed respectfully. Greetings, Your Highness. Greetings, Fairy Yunluo. Seeing me act so completely obedient made Pei Qinfeng's tense expression soften. He probably thought I wasn't holding any grudges against him. Taking the opportunity, Fairy Yunluo spoke up. We came here today, simply to see how you were settling in. As for what happened before, when it comes down to it, I'm the one who owes you. If I didn't see how you were doing with my own eyes, I'd never have peace of mind. Fairy, your profound kindness leaves this humble one completely overwhelmed. Yunluo felt my distance and guardedness, but she wasn't surprised at all. After all, she was the one who stood by and let my fateful encounter be stolen. How is the wealth the Pei family gave you? Beyond words. His Highness bestowing the title of Marquis upon me is already a monumental blessing. And granting me extra estates and farmlands so I can settle down. For me, a humble man, to have today, is entirely thanks to the patronage of His Highness and you, Fairy. This debt of gratitude is truly something I will never forget for the rest of my days. That is good to hear. After saying that, Yunluo walked out on her own, and Pei Qinfeng's group immediately scurried right after her. But just as I escorted them to the front gates, something felt wrong. The personal guards who came in with Pei Qinfeng didn't leave. Instead, they lined up right behind me. A sense of dread washed over me, and I asked cautiously, Your Highness, these guards of yours? The capital hasn't been peaceful lately. I specifically transferred some of my royal guards to watch your home and keep you safe. But right as he finished speaking, Yunluo suddenly shot her gaze up at me. She detected a trace of killing intent. It was the very first time she felt such intense emotion from me. At that moment, with my head bowed, a cold glint flashed through my eyes. Ever since I crossed over, I've faced countless life or death crises. Being overly cautious is my golden rule. Safety is my absolute priority. These royal guards are like butcher knives pressed right against my neck. With this move, Pei Qinfeng has completely crossed my bottom line. So, keeping a straight face, I politely declined. This humble one is merely a merchant. According to the laws set by the founding emperor, merchants are not allowed to keep private guards. You'll be a marquis very soon. This is the compensation agreed upon by the Immortal sect and the Pei family. What, are you planning to defy a royal decree? Thank you for your immense grace, your highness. I've already endured it all until today, so holding back a little longer won't hurt. I need to be even more careful now. I'll wait until the day I truly push the Pei family into the abyss. Pei Qinfeng wore a smug, self-satisfied smile. Crushing others with authority is the sweetest feeling in the world. But Yenluo secretly shook her head. She felt this descendant of the Lu family was far too weak. But just as she was about to turn away, a spiritual breeze suddenly brushed past her ear. She possessed a divine ability known as truth listening. It could capture inner voices and see through karma. However, this land of ascending immortals in the Great Qing suppressed the heavenly Tao. Right now, she could only glimpse the most intense thoughts of others. And the thought I projected completely froze her in place. Thus, when the heavens are about to place a great responsibility on a man, they must first test his will and exhaust his muscles and bones. For the first time, she looked at me with serious consideration. How could a mere mortal possess such spirit and resilience? Her master once said, the great Tao doesn't belong solely to cultivators. Even ordinary mortals can speak profound truths. Could he actually be the fateful encounter for my trial in the mortal realm? Since I've gained something from him, I naturally must repay this karma. And so, she reached her hand out to me. I will pass down a cultivation method to you. Consider it a test to prove you are truly a descendant of the Lu family. If she wanted to harm me, why go through such a massive detour? So, I reached out and carefully pinched her fingertips. Seeing my timidness, Yenluo couldn't help but smile, and took the initiative to grasp my hand. The next second, a streak of icy coolness shot straight into the spot between my brows. My mind felt like it exploded as countless scriptures flooded in. My world was spinning, and I couldn't understand a single word. Suddenly, a vicious force slammed into my forehead. It felt like it was trying to shatter the sealed shackles of my mortal body, making sure fate could no longer hide that spark of brilliance. The very next moment, a beam of light surged into my brain. The sheer force of these scriptures was actually striking my sea of consciousness. I've awakened the floating world immortal destiny. All I need is to gather 10,000 years of Tao aura and immortal brew. And I can ascend to immortality in a single step. Ha ha ha. To hell with worldly riches and glory. I am going to become an immortal. By the time I snapped out of it, Yenluo was already long gone. The illusion before my eyes slowly faded away. I turned around to look at those 10 personal guards behind me, forcing down the dark mood brewing in my chest. I slapped on a fake smile and had someone bring out the silver. Alright, brothers, since you're starting your duty at my Lu Manor today, it's only right we hit the pleasure house for a proper welcome feast. That night, in a private room at the Dragon Bridge night market, those 10 guards got absolutely completely wasted. The girls eventually dragged them all off, leaving me sitting there all alone, calculating my next move. Pei Qinfeng is practically begging to die. Now, I usually have a pretty good temper. But sending these 10 guards is basically holding a blade to my throat. Pei Qinfeng seriously underestimated me this time. And he definitely overestimated his bunch of useless drunks. I closed my eyes and started focusing on the scriptures in my mind. Suddenly, my destiny core shuddered. Those totally incomprehensible scriptures instantly made perfect sense. At the same time, my 10 years of Tao aura began to burn away. Before I knew it, I had actually mastered the basics of the Crossing Dust Heart Sutra. But I couldn't even bring myself to celebrate, because I only had 1 year of Tao aura left. Just grasping the basics burned through 9 whole years of it. And I still have absolutely no clue where to farm more. Talk about a massive rip-off. Whatever, I just need to hurry up and cultivate. The executioner's blade is literally hovering over my neck right now. This sinking ship called the Great Jing Empire is about to go under. Just this year alone, there have been 3 massive refugee riots. I have to build up enough strength to protect myself in the chaos before the entire empire completely collapses. So, I closed my eyes once more, but unexpectedly, as my destiny core trembled, my actual cultivation level didn't go up at all, but my chi gathering speed was off the charts like I turned on a cheat code. I blasted straight through to the first tier of the Crossing Dust Dao Foundation, and then my Dao aura completely dried up. I never thought I'd go bankrupt in the blink of an eye. Without the Dao aura, my cultivation speed is painfully slow. I have to figure out a way to get more of it. Meanwhile, back at the prince's manor, Pei Qinfeng was hovering nervously at the entrance to Yunluo's courtyard. He wanted to go inside, but that damn donkey was blocking the way completely. One look at the donkey following Yunluo and you could tell it was no ordinary beast. Left with no choice, Pei Qinfeng cleared his throat and spoke with extreme respect. "Senior, the kitchen has prepared some fresh pastries. This junior was hoping to offer them to the fairy for a taste." But the donkey just kept its head down and munched on the grass, acting completely deaf to human speech, leaving Pei Qinfeng standing there in utter, painful awkwardness. Yunluo had been in the Great Jing Empire for days now, but Pei Qinfeng hadn't even caught a single glimpse of her in private. Honestly, at this point, if Yunluo so much as nodded at him, the guy would probably be over the moon. He looked exactly like a pathetic, groveling simp. After a tense stare-down with the beast, Pei Qinfeng reluctantly left the pastries and walked away in defeat. The old donkey then nudged the box, strutted into the courtyard, and spoke in perfect human language. "A little tribute from that Pei kid. I've already taken my fasting pills, so I'm good." Donkey mumbled while greedily munching on the pastries. "You know, no matter how profound your cultivation gets, once you enter the immortal realm, you still have to eat like a regular mortal. Besides, that Pei kid actually has pretty decent talent and background. It's not like your Crossing Dust sect absolutely forces you to abandon all romantic feelings, right?" Yunluo shot at a slight side eye. "Did you take a bribe from the Pei family too, senior?" "Well, that Dao Sovereign Emperor did slip me a 1,000-year spirit herb." "Ah, that explains it. For a second there, I thought your old eyes were going blind and you'd kicked yourself in the head." Hearing Yunluo's sharp sarcasm, the donkey actually froze for a second. But then it just laughed it off without getting angry. "Hey, if I can score free loot just by flapping my gums. Only a total idiot would say no. Plus, we still need the Pei family to do the heavy lifting in searching for the elixir of immortality." Finding the elixir of immortality, that was Yunluo's one and only reason for stepping foot into the immortal realm. It's also the ultimate master plan the Duchan sect has been plotting for 10,000 years. Then, the donkey suddenly changed its tune. "Why on earth did you give that kid the sect's core technique? Don't tell me you've actually fallen for him? It's what the Duchan sect owes him. So stubborn, you're exactly like your master. Besides, the Duchan heart technique is the absolute hardest to master. He won't be able to learn it even if he tries for a whole lifetime." Hearing the donkey complaints, Yunluo hesitated for a moment and said, "Then, I'll go see him again tomorrow, and give him a normal technique instead." "Oh, for heaven's sake. My dear lady, you showing up at his door over and over again is just going to get the poor guy killed. At the end of the day, the Liu family heir is just a lowly servant. Fortunately, that kid has some brains, and he couldn't wait to stay 10 feet away from you the other day." The donkey was completely speechless. Yunluo had no choice but to humbly ask how she should approach the Liu family heir. Seeing her sincere attitude, the donkey suddenly felt mischievous. "Just hop the wall and sneak into his mansion tonight, and hand the technique over to him. That way, you won't bring him any unwanted trouble." Yunluo nodded. "You're right, that way, the Pei family will never find out." So, after thanking it, she leapt up and instantly vanished into the dead of night. But she never expected that the donkey would be laughing its head off as it watched her fly away. A grand fairy sneaking out at night to meet a mortal boy. Oh, this is going to be hilarious. It didn't take long for Yunluo to arrive at my mansion, but she immediately ran into a huge problem. She had no idea which room I was staying in, because this land of Ascension was a very bizarre place. Most of her magic simply wouldn't work. As a result, she searched all the way until dawn and still couldn't find me. She had to storm back to her little courtyard in defeat. At that very moment, Pei Qinfeng was standing outside her gate with a box of breakfast. "I humbly request an audience with Fairy Yunluo." The donkey just yawned and went back to chewing its grass. No one was getting past that gate. After all, it was the guardian beast of the Duchan sect. If anyone dared to lay a single finger on Yunluo, even the almighty emperor himself would have his soul obliterated. Yunluo carried the divine destiny of resurrecting an ancient immortal. An immortal who would most likely become the only true god in this world. I was completely unaware of Pei Qinfang's awkward situation. I was busy riding through the streets with my personal guards. We rode all the way to my front door before hopping off our horses. The guards were already panting heavily. Yet I, a guy who had been frail and sick my whole life, wasn't even breaking a sweat. It seems breaking through to the first stage of essence refining really gave my stamina a massive boost. But of course, I still pretended to be out of breath just to play along. The captain of the guards looked at me with admiration and said, "Master Lu, even though you're a merchant, you're still a pretty tough guy." "Oh, I could never compare to you, General. I'll be relying entirely on you gentlemen for the estate's security from now on." I only called him General to humor him, but the captain was already letting it go to his head. It hadn't even been a full day, yet these guards were already treating me like royalty, turning a blind eye to my every move. I mean, I practically buried them in silver. Definitely money well spent. After that, I headed inside alone and had my right-hand man, Xiao Cheng, bring me all of the royal estate's account books from the past few years. But what he didn't know was, I wasn't auditing the books at all. I was actually looking for the source of their magical items. Since the Pei family had ties with the immortal sects for so long, there was no way Pei Qinfeng wasn't cultivating too. And if you cultivate, you need magic herbs. Buying those herbs meant money had to flow out of the treasury. As I quickly flipped through the pages, I suddenly stopped, a smirk creeping onto my face. March 3rd, Royal Eunuch Zhao Feng withdrew 20,000 taels of silver to purchase the purple aura fairy fruit. Word has it that this magical fruit can extend a person's lifespan. All the nobles treat it like a priceless treasure, and the royal court even made it an official tribute item. "Xiao Cheng, go buy us some of that purple aura fairy fruit." "Master, these are royal tributes. I'm afraid they won't be easy to get your hands on." Xiao Cheng looked completely troubled. "There's only one legitimate way to get your hands on royal tributes. And that's getting an imperial reward. But the Pei family has already devoured all the good stuff." I cursed inwardly that the great Jing dynasty was doomed to fall sooner or later, but out loud I just said, "If the front door is closed, we take the back door." Then, using the excuse of throwing a welcome party for my guards, I headed back to the brothel. This time, I didn't even have to set things up. The guards already knew the drill and sneaked off into their own separate rooms. I waited for what felt like forever, until Xiao Cheng finally pushed the door open, clutching a box. He set it on the table, wincing like it physically pained him. Mother of mercy, the price on this stuff is just completely outrageous. Just for these few spirit fruits, they actually had the nerve to charge me 100 taels of silver. I picked up one of the spirit fruits and asked, "How exactly did you manage to get these?" He gulped down some tea to catch his breath and said, "The big pharmacies sell them under the table. It's just that they don't have much in stock. If you still want more, we'll have to go find old One Arm, the biggest slave trader in the market." I popped one of the spirit fruits into my mouth. The very next second, the fate core inside me suddenly pulsed. My Tao resonance had increased. It wasn't quite a full year's worth of growth, but I instantly perked up. It was exactly as I had guessed. Cultivation wasn't some impossible, unreachable dream after all. The powerful elites of Great Jing had already secretly figured out the tricks. I grabbed the remaining 9 spirit fruits and swallowed them all at once. But my Tao resonance still hadn't reached a full year's worth. It wasn't nearly enough. "Xiao Cheng, go find old One Arm again. I want 5,000 taels worth of spirit fruits. But remember, we're dealing in smuggled royal tributes, so make absolutely sure your hands are clean." I honestly thought Xiao Cheng would have a smooth deal at the market. Who would have guessed that old One Arm would actually jack up the price right on the spot? After a whole lot of intense haggling, they finally settled the price at 18 taels per fruit. Wincing in absolute agony, Xiao Cheng handed over 2,000 taels in silver notes, grabbed the 100 spirit fruits, and bolted. This was just the down payment between them. The remaining balance would only be paid once the rest of the goods were delivered. But I never could have expected that the exact second old One Arm saw Xiao Cheng out, he immediately carried a bowl of medicine straight to a private room. He knocked gently 3 times. "Young master, your medicine is ready." A moment later, a dark, chilling voice echoed from inside. "What does that man want with so many spirit fruits? This old servant does not know. I'm afraid it might be another worldly cultivator." The young master scoffed in pure disdain. "If this fool needs that many spirit fruits to assist his cultivation, his aptitude is clearly absolute garbage. He doesn't even have half of my talent." But surprisingly, Old One-Arm's eyes instantly lit up. "Young master, have you finally mastered it? 3 months at the most. Maybe even just 1. I have already reached the half-step foundation stage." The voice behind the door dripped with sheer arrogance. It turned out that although this immortal Ascension land was restricted by the heavenly Tao, it could completely transform a person's innate potential. As long as someone could forge a supreme Tao foundation, they actually had a real shot at ascending to immortality. "Congratulations, young master." Old One-Arm was so incredibly thrilled that he dropped straight to his knees. The immortal Ascension land had only been open for 5 years, yet his young master had already forged half of his Tao foundation. What a once-in-a-lifetime genius. Meanwhile, back on my end, Xiao Cheng had finally returned to the brothel. He was angrily ranting about the price hike. "Money isn't the problem here," I told him. "As long as we actually got the goods, that's all that matters." I grabbed a huge handful of spirit fruits and just stuffed them straight into my mouth. Just that one single handful was worth hundreds of taels. That was more money than an ordinary person could make in their entire lifetime. By the time I swallowed the very last spirit fruit, my Tao resonance had finally jumped up to 2 whole years. I had burned through 5,000 taels, and it only gave me 1/5 the power of Yun Luo's elixir. This wasn't just burning through cash, this was burning through my literal life savings. I really hope the second level of my cultivation technique gives me some seriously powerful abilities. Then, I sat cross-legged on the ground and closed my eyes to cultivate. Instantly, my Tao aura poured out. If I didn't use the Tao aura to cultivate, I wouldn't even reach the second stage in 10 years. But this technique has 9 whole stages just in the first realm alone. Cultivating this is just pure torture, man. Meanwhile, at the Lu estate, Yun Luo was standing on the roof, yet again. She was absolutely certain that my room was right below her. And yet, I still wasn't there. Where on earth did he run off to? By the time the sun came up, my Tao aura was completely dried up. But hey, my crossing dust foundation finally broke through to the second stage. I originally had 10,000 taels of silver saved up. I paid out 2,000, so I still have 8,000 taels left. And when I opened my eyes, I suddenly felt a strange sensation in my lower half. Looking down, I realized that silver was totally well spent. This body's functions are all perfectly intact. Before, it was basically a half-ruined, defective body. But now, reaching the second stage of crossing dust and refining the 5 organs completely fixed all those flaws. Meanwhile, back at the prince's mansion, Yun Luo hopped the wall to get back in. After sneaking around for 2 whole nights, she had only confirmed one thing: I definitely do not sleep at home. Just as she was heading back to her room in frustration, a deeply annoying voice suddenly called out from behind her. "Fairy Yun Luo." Pei Qinfeng started waving excitedly the moment he saw her back. After 3 whole days, he finally got to see Yun Luo. But to her, he was just incredibly annoying. She was just about to ignore him and step inside, when Pei Qinfeng suddenly yelled at the top of his lungs. "I came here to talk to you about official business. It's about the water veins. I've already had Manager Lu waiting at the mansion." Hearing that, Yun Luo finally stopped in her tracks, asking why he had called her over for this. She originally thought her late-night sneaking around had been exposed, but to her surprise, Pei Qinfeng blurted out. "He's the head manager of the estate's waterworks, and the man who understands the water veins better than anyone else in the capital. If you feel he's not suitable, Fairy, I can swap him out for someone else right away." "There's no need," Yun Luo replied, giving a slight nod. Just that one tiny gesture was enough to make Pei Qinfeng absolutely beam with joy. He knew that as long as he could win the fairy's favor, his royal father would immediately crown him as the crown prince. Hell, he might even hand over the throne early. That was the promise the Tao monarch emperor had personally made to him. Now, he was simping harder than ever. A little while later, in the main hall of the prince's mansion, I was standing there with a group of people, waiting obediently, when suddenly, an absolutely breathtaking figure stepped around the corner. I looked up, and as our eyes met, we both froze for a second. The very next second, my heart dropped. Oh crap, did I just expose my second stage cultivation? So, I quickly lowered my head, using the techniques from the Crossing Dust manual to conceal the Tao foundation inside me. Sure enough, when Yunluo used her truth listening ability, she found that it was as if I had erected a massive mental wall against her. My clear resistance and evasion left Yunluo feeling pretty frustrated. Since when had she ever been treated like this? But it wasn't like she could openly accuse me of anything. She figured she at least needed to give me a basic cultivation technique, just to put her mind at ease. My respects to the Ninth Prince, and to Fairy Yunluo. My deep bow interrupted her thoughts, just as Pei Qinfeng walked right up. He stepped right between us, looking down his nose at me as he spoke. Here you've been spending all your time at the brothels lately. You really ought to rein it in and find a decent woman to settle down with. He was just trying to make me look like total trash in front of Yunluo, but honestly, I couldn't care less. Going to the brothels was just an act for them anyway. The more pathetic I looked to them, the safer I was. So, I just bowed my head respectfully and said, "You are absolutely right, Your Highness." But the moment I said that, Yunluo shot me this dark, piercing glare. It sent an instant shiver right down my spine. And then, with just one sentence, she completely exposed me. Cultivating the body to nourish life, huh? My primal yang is intact. Now, it's her turn to be annoyed. She spent the whole night freezing on the roof, never expecting that I would actually just sleep in a brothel. But if his primal yang is still intact, what did he even go to a place like that for? She instinctively used her mind-reading art, but couldn't hear my thoughts at all. Instead, a wave of restless thoughts came from Pei Qinfeng right beside her. Women are only good for bearing children. But men are for true pleasure. In an instant, an overwhelming sense of disgust welled up inside Yunluo. She knew mortal men had a taste for other men, but she never expected it to be this filthy. Sensing the awkward tension, I quickly bowed respectfully and chimed in. "The noble lords have been waiting for quite some time. Why don't Your Highness and the fairy take a seat first, and we can talk at our leisure? We wouldn't want to exhaust you." Pei Qinfeng was quite pleased with my humble attitude. He easily regained his sense of superiority through me, then immediately turned his attention back to fawning over Yunluo. "Fairy Yunluo, please, right this way to the inner chamber." However, she completely ignored him. Her eyes were fixed solely on me, only to find that the walls guarding my mind had grown even stronger. This frustrated her even more, but she had no choice but to swallow her pride and accept it. By the time she stepped into the main hall and sat down, I had already slipped into the crowd, blending perfectly into the background. This guy from the Liu family is as slippery as an eel, she thought. Beside her, Pei Qinfeng exchanged a few pleasantries. He was just about to introduce the young nobles, but Yunluo cut him right off. "I only need to know about the water veins." Pei Qinfeng let out an awkward cough. He motioned for me to step forward and answer the fairy's questions. Yunluo looked at me. "How many wells are in the city? And what is the difference between their waters?" "There are exactly 1,200 wells, my lady. Most of them are bitter water wells. That water has to settle overnight before it's safe to drink. There are 200 clear water wells that are safe to drink from directly. As for the sweet water wells, there are less than 80 of them. Their water is incredibly sweet, highly favored by the royalty and nobles. Take me to a sweet water well. I want the absolute best one in the city. I've already had my men bring the finest well water straight to the mansion. It was drawn fresh just this morning." To my surprise, Yunluo shook her head, revealing a piece of information that really caught my interest. If the water sits for more than 2 hours, its spiritual energy simply fades away. It'll be impossible to find any clues. Wait, are the sweet water wells in the capital actually spiritual springs? I wondered. We have water drawn within the last 2 hours, too. I specifically ordered my guys to deliver a fresh batch every hour. Yunluo was utterly speechless. This guy from the Liu family was surprisingly reliable. Way better than that idiot Pei Qinfeng, whose brain seemed like it had been kicked by a donkey. Her earlier frustration completely melted away. She gave a gentle nod and stayed silent. Seeing her reaction, Pei Qinfeng, as the head of the household, felt a huge boost to his ego. "You've done an excellent job. Here's a reward of 500 taels." Earning a smile from a beauty was well worth throwing away a fortune. I thanked him profusely and took the banknotes. In my head, I quickly did the math. 500 taels could buy over 20 spirit fruits, which roughly equals half a year's worth of Tao resonance. My current savings were at 8,500 taels, giving me 8.5 Tao resonances. I was only 1.5 away from breaking through to the third stage. I just hope this third stage finally gives me some real power to protect myself. Taking a soft breath to calm my racing heart, I bowed respectfully. I will go check if the fresh water has arrived yet, my lord. Go on, and stop referring to yourself so humbly. You are soon to be a marquis of the great Jing Empire. As soon as he said that, the way the people around looked at me changed instantly. Pei Chinfeng was deliberately elevating my status. I immediately put on an overwhelmed, flattered expression. I showered him with another round of thanks before finally taking my leave. However, the second I turned around and stepped out of the hall, the fake joy on my face vanished without a trace. A hint of disdain flashed in my eyes, but no one noticed my subtle changes. Except for Yunluo, it only made her more convinced that there's more to me than meets the eye. Later, I walked to the manor gates, scooped up a ladle of well water, and took a sip. My fate grid didn't react at all, but the true chi inside my body suddenly surged with life. So this must be spiritual energy. No wonder the wealthy families fight tooth and nail over these sweet water wells. But Tao rhythm isn't the same as spiritual energy. Honestly, this stuff is barely of any use to me. After that, I brought a bowl of the well water back. Seeing this, Yunluo gently tapped the water's surface with her fingertip. A wisp of spiritual energy rippled through the bowl. She stayed silent for a long moment before finally asking, "Where exactly is this well?" "It's the Dragon Spring well over at the Dragon Bridge Waterhouse." Naturally, the royal manor controls the finest wells. The Dragon Spring well must be the very source of the capital's water veins. Keep a very close eye on it. If you notice anything unusual, you report it to me immediately. Understood. I quietly slipped back to my seat, playing the role of an absolute nobody. Only this time, the people around me actually started striking up conversations. Sucking up to me before I've even been granted a noble title. That's the sheer power a little bit of fame buys you. Anyway, right around dusk, I headed back to the Dragon Spring well. The very second the sun dipped below the horizon, the water in the well suddenly started boiling up. Swarms of fish came rushing up from the depths. This bizarre phenomenon had only started happening over the past year. I quickly channeled my true chi into my eyes, and what I saw next absolutely blew my mind. The water was actually shimmering with rainbow colors. I hurriedly pulled up a bucketful. I realized that the glow was just a paper-thin layer floating on the surface. The other workers around me looked completely normal, so clearly, they couldn't see it at all. Without hesitating, I took a ladle and carefully took a tiny sip. The very next second, something totally unexpected happened. My fate grid started trembling. What it absorbed this time was actually immortal nectar. The amount was tiny, sure, but at least I finally knew how to harvest the stuff. I eagerly gulped down 2 more mouthfuls, but then the rainbow-colored substance vanished entirely. The well completely settled down again. As for my immortal nectar, I was still short by 1/3 of a full unit. If I could just get a sip of this every single day, I'd easily rack up 20 units in a month. Tao rhythm is meant to boost your comprehension, but immortal nectar? That's directly tied to actual immortal destiny. But honestly, besides that ancestral jade pendant of mine, where on earth was I supposed to find immortal destiny? Well, I didn't dwell on it too much. I had way more important things to worry about right now. About an hour later, Xiao Cheng delivered the second batch of immortal fruits. A grand total of 100 fruits, which gave me 2 solid years worth of Tao rhythm. After deducting 2,000 taels, my savings were down to 6,500 taels. Afterwards, I dismissed the guards on duty, locked myself in my room, and sat down to meditate. But I absolutely never expected Yunluo to gracefully float right into my courtyard. And the second she got close to my room, she instantly sensed something was off. You have to understand, this land of Ascension is under the heavenly Tao's restriction. If you want to cultivate at all, you must possess a Tao foundation. Yet, the unmistakable aura of spiritual energy being channeled was radiating from my room, which meant I had somehow mastered the Duchan sect's most notoriously difficult foundation, the Duchan Tao Foundation. For someone like me, whose very immortal roots were completely stripped away, to actually endure the heavenly Tao's suppression and continue cultivating. That kind of raw talent and sheer willpower had to be absolutely top tier. Thinking about this, Yunluo couldn't help but sigh. What the elders of her sect had done to me was truly disgraceful. Feeling a bit of pity, Yunluo decided she'd give me one more pointer. So, she reached out and gently knocked on the door. But strangely enough, dead silence. For the longest time, there was no response from inside, and even the spiritual energy fluctuations completely vanished. Yunluo was just about to knock again when a sudden, uneasy feeling hit her. But the moment she violently threw the door open, she saw me literally vaulting out the back window and bolting. Catching sight of this, a vein furiously popped on Fairy Yunluo's forehead. Is this guy the literal reincarnation of a slippery loach? Meanwhile, I was practically sprinting for my life. I tore down an escape route I had rehearsed in my head 1,000 times. Even though I had no idea if the person sneaking up on me was a friend or an enemy. Someone creeping up alone in the dead of night? Yeah, the chances of them being here to kill me were way too high. Just as I was secretly congratulating myself for being so quick on my feet, the crystal clear sound of a single water drop suddenly echoed right beside my ear. In an instant, my body completely locked up. I was totally paralyzed. A cold voice whispered, "Why are you running? Do you think I'm going to eat you?" Yunluo's soft, teasing voice drifted down from above. I brazenly cupped my hands in greeting, paying my highest respects to Fairy Yunluo. A smirk tugged at the corners of her lips. "You certainly didn't look like you were paying your respects when you were running away just now." I kept my head bowed and explained defensively, "I have been a merchant for many years. And survived countless assassination attempts. If I wasn't constantly on my guard, I'd be nothing but bones by now." Then, smoothly changing the subject, I asked, "May I ask what brings the fairy to my humble home at this late hour?" "I'm here to teach you a much simpler method of chi refinement. Here, take my hand. It will only take a moment." As she said this, she reached out her hand toward me. At that very moment, I knew for sure. She must have seen through my disguise and realized I was hiding my true power. I knew perfectly well she was just testing me, but I decided to come clean and confess that I had mastered the dust-crossing mind mantra. Since I couldn't hide it anymore, playing it cool was my best defense. After all, she was the one who gave me the manual in the first place. The dust-crossing technique is the core secret art of the sect, but over thousands of years, those who have actually mastered it are incredibly rare. How far along are you? What have you comprehended? Yunluo's usually calm voice now held a fierce trace of urgency. I just feel a strange surge of energy gathering in my lower abdomen. I was hoping the fairy could explain it to me. I answered vaguely, hoping to make her think I was just mildly talented. To my surprise, she stood there in dead silence for over a dozen breaths. Finally, she slowly breathed out 2 words. Entry stage. She genuinely never expected me to succeed. Her eyes were filled with absolute shock and complex emotions as she stared at me. For 1,000 years, not a single soul has mastered the dust-crossing Tao. You are the absolute only one. This means you are qualified to enter the dust-crossing sect. I can personally recommend you. You would be granted the rank of elder the moment you join. Deep down, though, she couldn't help but sigh heavily. From my skills to my character, I was everything she was looking for. And now, my talent vastly overshadowed even that of the royal prince of the Pei family. What stung her the most was the bitter realization that I was originally supposed to be her loyal guardian. "I will carefully consider your offer," I replied, "but I beg the fairy to keep this a secret for now." I deliberately left my options open. Since the cat was already out of the bag, I figured I might as well show off a bit of my talent to secure my footing. I needed her to see exactly what I was worth. Yunluo nodded gracefully. "The sect does not forbid outsiders from learning our Tao. Come find me when you have made your decision. I will arrange for someone to grant you safe passage out of Daqing." With a flick of her sleeve, she turned to leave. "Fairy, you're leaving so soon?" I apologize for being such a poor host. I was only trying to be polite, but to my surprise, Yunluo let out a soft chuckle and cut me off. "If you truly wanted to host me, you wouldn't be guarding yourself so heavily against me. Cultivation is like sailing against the current. You can't expect everything to be perfect." "This lowly one," I started to explain, but she aggressively interrupted me again. "There are 36 paths to immortality in this world. The dust-crossing mind mantra is the absolute highest tier among them. You are the only person alive who has mastered it, and yet, you refer to yourself as this lowly one." Yunluo couldn't hide the absolute disgust in her voice. Her anger stemmed from pure, unadulterated jealousy. But for some reason, despite being interrupted twice, I wasn't the least bit angry. Instead, I spoke with complete, unshakable calm. Being born into poverty is not a disgrace. A true man knows when to yield, and when to stand tall. I come from nothing. Calling myself a lowly one is simply a necessity for me to survive in this ruthless world. Yun Luo froze right where she stood. Every ounce of her jealous anger vanished in an instant. She lowered her head slightly and whispered, I spoke out of turn. With that, she hurriedly turned to walk away. But she barely made it 2 steps, when a sudden, massive surge of spiritual energy erupted from behind her. She whipped around in absolute disbelief. I wasn't merely at the entry stage. I had already broken through to the first heaven of the Tao Foundation realm. I held out my hand, purposefully revealing only the first layer of my true power. Yun Luo was absolutely right earlier. Nothing in this world is perfect. If I want to grow stronger, I have to step out into the light eventually. So, I put on a smile and said, I mastered the first stage of the Duchen Heart mantra in just 4 days. Where does that rank me in this world? I didn't dare tell her I'd already reached the second stage. It would be way too shocking. But to my complete surprise, Yun Luo gasped in disbelief. That's impossible. At the same time, a deep sense of worry washed over her. Stealing someone's destiny is a bitter feud. If I eventually grow into my power, I'd definitely become a massive threat to the Duchen sect. If their guardian beast were here right now, I'd be turned to ash on the spot. Yun Luo could only give me a very solemn warning. Do not show off your Duchen arts to anyone else. Especially not around my donkey, or the Pei family. Otherwise, you're a dead man. Why? Just because I refused to rot in the mud like they wanted me to? Your talent is top tier in this world. If you joined the Duchen sect, you could easily become the next sect master. But my martial uncles would never allow someone like you to exist. However, I can talk to my master, and have the Duchen faction, a branch of the sect, hide you away. This was honestly the best plan Yun Luo could come up with, but I turned her down flat. Instead, I said something pretty strange. I remember you saying earlier, Fairy, that the Duchen sect doesn't mind outsiders learning their arts. Are you asking me to teach you more of our arts, without actually joining the sect? I nodded. After all, I was desperately short on techniques right now. After a long silence, she actually agreed. I was just about to thank her, but then she dropped another bombshell. I won't just teach you the public techniques. I can teach you our secret ones, too. Yun Luo was no fool. She knew I was a brilliant prodigy with absolutely no backing. By investing just a little in me now, she could reap 1,000,000 times the reward in the future. I knew exactly what she was playing at, so I gave her a solemn promise. Fairy, for recognizing my worth, I will go through hell and high water for you. Showing off my talent to win her over was just step 1. The most crucial part was promising her a massive payoff. If I didn't paint her a beautiful picture, why on earth would she invest in me? A short while later, we headed back to the courtyard. I thought she was going to teach me right away, but instead, she asked me a really weird question. I have the Duchen sword art, and the true return spear art. The first is one of the top 10 sword styles in our sect. The second is just a basic chi refining technique. Which one do you want? I raised an eyebrow. Any idiot could tell the sword art was way stronger. But strangely enough, I chose the spear. Right now, my fate was being heavily suppressed. The spear art definitely wasn't the best choice, but it was the only one I could master quickly. Yet, the moment I took Yun Luo's hand, the knowledge of both the spear and the sword art flooded into my mind. She looked at me with pure satisfaction. My master asked me that exact same question back in the day. You have incredible focus. My master is going to really like you. Dawn broke shortly after. I watched Yun Luo walk away, feeling completely amazed. A top-tier sword style, and a spear technique far beyond any mortal martial arts. I got my hands on both of them just like that. Plus, I managed to win the fairy's favor. That's the beauty of showing off your talent. With a chaotic era fast approaching, I needed to train like crazy just to survive. Over the next month, by absorbing the Tao resonance in my mind, I mastered the first form of the sword art. And I pushed the spear art straight to its absolute peak. But, the Tao resonance that turbocharged my training had run completely dry. So, I asked my right-hand man, Xiao Cheng, if he had found any other sources for the spirit fruits. He just frowned and replied, I've already found 3 of them. But none of them could swallow a sum of 10,000 taels. Not even old one arm from before. That's why he kept jacking up the price. He wanted to swallow up all your silver. Just as I was stressing over how to restock the spirit water, Xiao Cheng suddenly blushed and spoke up. I did hear about another way, though. The dragon tiger pills at the Wind and Moon Pavilion are made from spirit fruits. If you want them, spending 10,000 taels won't be an issue. The only catch is, we wouldn't be able to hide our identities. I thought it over for a second, then made my call. I told him to go buy a batch of those dragon tiger pills first. By dusk, just as I was about to head out, one of the workers rushed over looking completely spooked. Master Lu, I need to report something. Last night, I saw something in the dragon spring well. There was a yellow dragon in there. My eyes narrowed. It's pretty normal for a spirit spring to breed strange beasts. There must be some kind of treasure down there. For the next few days, I stopped by the water room at sunset every evening. I'd haul up some well water to replenish my immortal brew, but I just couldn't track down that spirit beast. That was, until one evening, when I had the worker pull up the wooden bucket, a massive splash suddenly erupted from the bottom of the well. The violent pull almost yanked the poor guy right off his feet. My heart raced, and I immediately ordered them to haul the bucket up. I promised 10 taels of silver to every man who helped pull. Once I said that, I quietly stepped back, to put a safe distance between us. The moment they heard about the silver, the workers pulled with everything they had. But when the bucket finally surfaced, the sight before us scared the living daylights out of everyone. A massive, monstrous snake. Its jaws were clamped right onto the wooden bucket. It thrashed violently from side to side. I was the first to snap out of the shock. I barked at the guards beside me, hack that beast to pieces. But to my absolute disbelief, the usually fierce guards of the manor panicked and ran for their lives. Thank God a couple of hardened veterans from the battlefield drew their blades and struck. I honestly thought mortal weapons wouldn't even scratch the monster. But to my surprise, the very first slash drew blood. Watching it thrash around even more violently, I stopped backing away. Instead, I stood my ground and studied the thing. If mortal blades could hurt it, there was nothing to worry about. Still, I ordered everyone to fall back. I was going to let the manor handle the rest, but out of nowhere, my fate core suddenly pulsed inside me. The dormant immortal brew grew wildly restless. A massive surge of adrenaline hit me. I whipped out my blade. In the very next breath, a flash of cold steel painted the air red. The monster's head was sliced clean open. I casually flicked the blood off my blade, and immediately ordered the men to haul the carcass out. The manor's people will be here any second. They're not coming to rescue us, they're coming for the spoils. Move, now. Spurred by my shouting, they yanked the dead snake out in no time. I ran my hands along its carcass, feeling my fate core pulsing in response. The closer I got to the head, the more violently it reacted. Whatever was making the immortal brew act up had to be a treasure. So, I raised my blade and brought it down on the skull. Clang, the blade bounced off. I had hit the skull bone. Right then, Xiao Cheng sprinted over. Master Lu, Eunuch Feng is coming with a bunch of the manor's guards. I don't care what you have to do. Just stall them. After barking the order to Xiao Cheng, I had the workers mercilessly smash the monster's head. But even though the bone cracked, it just wouldn't bust open. We were completely running out of time. I ordered them to pry the monster's jaws open, then I shoved half my body right inside. I sliced through the cartilage of its lower jaw, reached my hand in, and dug around. Revolting, foul-smelling slime splattered all over my face. Almost there, it's right inside. Just a little bit more. And just as my fate core began vibrating like crazy, my fingers suddenly brushed against something hard. The next second, the spiritual fluid around it began churning wildly like a raging river. At the exact same time, a shrill voice pierced the air. What the hell do you think you're doing? Before I could even grab the treasure, the prince's personal guards roughly dragged me out of there. Eunuch Feng glared down at me with sheer contempt. And just what were you doing, sneaking around inside His Highness's sacred beast, Mr. Lu? If you end up ruining this divine omen, do you really think you can afford the consequences? I stared back at him ice cold, fighting back the overwhelming urge to snap his neck. But in the end, I just gritted my teeth and made up a story about dropping my jade pendant. I told him the snake monster swallowed it, and I was just trying to get it back. Since I didn't even know how valuable the treasure inside the beast actually was yet, it just wasn't worth risking my life over. Eunuch Feng shot me a look of absolute disgust. I'll be taking this sacred beast with me. His Highness is eager to present it to the fairy. Hearing that, I quietly stepped aside. I could only watch helplessly as they hauled the giant snake away. Just 2 hours later, half the capital was already buzzing with the news. The 9th prince actually slayed a dragon. He truly is the chosen one. Meanwhile, a very excited Pei Qin Feng showed up at Yunluo's courtyard. He stood proudly in front of her divine beast, the little donkey. Finally found a clue about the divine destiny the Duchen sect has been searching for. This junior humbly requests an audience with the fairy. Since it involved the elixir of immortality, the donkey actually didn't give him a hard time for once. It turned around and trotted into the courtyard, then came right back out a few minutes later. Yunluo will see you. Those few words made that massive simp, Pei Qin Feng, practically jump for joy. He rushed into the courtyard as fast as his legs could carry him. A brief moment later, Yunluo stepped out of her villa. The way Pei Qin Feng kept endlessly chattering right next to her was incredibly annoying. She couldn't help but think of me instead. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't be this obnoxious. In fact, I was someone she always had to figure out. Shortly after, the second Yunluo laid eyes on the snake monster. Her eyes instantly lit up. Where did you find this? Pei Qin Feng flashed a smug smile. Your request, fairy, has kept me awake day and night. Today, on a whim, I decided to visit the Dragon Spring Well, and I just so happened to catch this vile beast causing trouble. So, I immediately drew my blade, charged right in, and after a fiercely fought battle, I finally took the monster down. But Yunluo immediately saw right through his lies. She knew it was actually me, the guard of the Dragon Spring Well, who really found it. Her heart skipped a little. She pursed her lips and softly said, "You did very well. You don't need to handle things like this yourself from now on." Wow, the fairy actually cares about me. Pei Qin Feng was completely floating on cloud 9. But Yunluo didn't pay him any more attention. Instead, she just raised her hand, and a bright flash of spiritual light instantly shot out from the dead snake's head. Before anyone could even see what the treasure was, she swept it right into her sleeve. Later that night, I sat cross-legged in my room, my murderous rage growing stronger by the minute. Just as I was trying to figure out how to get near the beast's corpse again, a very familiar voice called out from outside my door. I opened the door to see Yunluo holding out a glowing pearl. This is your black snake spirit pearl. A genuine spirit treasure. Oh man, I'm doomed. Being a kept man feels way too good. I'm gonna turn into a massive simp just like Pei Qin Feng. Seeing me staring at her like a complete idiot, she gently said, "Since you were the one who killed this great beast, then this naturally belongs to you." Without waiting for an answer, she strolled right into my room, picked up a random book from my shelf, and started flipping through it. She made herself completely at home without a shred of hesitation. I desperately wanted to stop her. There were, let's just say, some deeply embarrassing things in there. But all my panic instantly vanished, completely captivated by the pearl. I stepped forward and held it tight, overwhelmed by the joy of getting my treasure back. Still flipping through the pages, Yunluo spoke without even looking up. "Do you even know the secret art to bind it to yourself?" I quickly bowed. I begged the fairy to teach me. Yunluo couldn't hold back a soft, amused giggle. After teasing me for a moment, she finally reached out her delicate hand. I grabbed it like a total pro. Instantly, a rush of pure, cooling energy flooded straight into my mind. The true mastery of spirit treasures. This was literally a complete masterclass on magical artifacts. Damn, being a kept man is absolutely fantastic. I happily cupped my hands together and bowed low to her, throwing out another massive empty promise. "Thank you, fairy. I, Lu, will deeply engrave this kindness in my heart. If you ever need anything in the future, I will brave a mountain of swords and a sea of fire without hesitation." Yunluo nodded, accepting my pledge. What she truly wanted was simply a favor from me, although it seemed a bit transactional. But that was still far better than asking for nothing and scaring me off. The snake monster I killed today. I wonder if it was a demon? To my surprise, Yunluo's reply was shocking. It wasn't a snake, but a dragon carp. Used in medicine, it nourishes the young. As a demon, it was transforming into a dragon. What you killed might actually be a dragon prince. Isn't this dragon prince a bit too weak? It is not that the dragon prince was weak, but rather, This Ascension land of the Great Kingdom is far too restrictive. All living beings must revert to a mortal state, such is the decree of the heavens in this land of Ascension. That night, Yunluo stayed over at my place once again. She guided me through the true interpretation of spirit treasures over and over, until I had fully regulated my breath and absorbed it all. Only then did I officially begin to refine the spirit treasure. But the moment I poured my divine sense into the pearl, a phantom of the snake monster suddenly spiraled upward. It stared down at me with the imposing aura of a giant dragon. In the next second, the giant beast snapped its jaws open and lunged right at me. Its speed was terrifyingly fast. However, with a single slash of my sword, the monster was instantly cleaved in two. But strangely enough, it reappeared in the blink of an eye. This time, it didn't bare its fangs or flash its claws. Instead, it stared at me in sheer terror. So, this was the true power of the Immortal brew. It allowed me to completely defy the mandate of heaven, and forcibly seize the immortal essence to refine the spirit treasure, without worrying about erasing its residual spirit. Yet, as the beast rubbed against my ankle as if begging for mercy, I brutally slammed its head into the ground. With a swift flash of my blade, I struck. When the monster resurrected once more, it continued to plead. That just proved it was still holding back its strength. Without a single word, I slashed it again. It wasn't until the fifth strike, when the immortal brew had dried up, that a wisp of pure spirit essence flowed into my body. I slowly opened my eyes. May I ask, Fairy, who is the absolute strongest at refining spirit treasures? Yunluo tilted her chin up slightly. The militarist faction at famous Sword Mountain has a sword refining ranking of 132 people. The number 1 rank refines 39,000 swords in a single day. The number 2 rank takes 10 days to refine just one. My jaw dropped slightly. I honestly thought mastering a spirit treasure in a single day was already defying the heavens. I never expected someone to be even more absurdly overpowered than me. Yunluo's lips curled into a smirk. What, are you thinking about getting on that ranking too? Once you properly enter the cultivation world, I can take you there. But that's assuming you can actually refine this spirit treasure. Just as her voice fell, a sudden ripple of spiritual energy washed over us. Shimmering specks of watery light began to fill the air. I wonder if I, Lu, could take that second spot on the ranking? Yunluo didn't say a word. 4 days to build his Tao foundation, and just 1 day to refine a spirit treasure. Could anyone in this world truly possess such monstrous talent? Glancing down, she accidentally caught sight of the poem I had written. Where the sea ends, the sky becomes the shore. When the highest mountain is scaled, I am the absolute peak. Perhaps my choice to hide my strength wasn't out of caution. It was a sheer, undeniable arrogance that completely disdained showing off to others. Yunluo left as soon as the sun came up. I closely examined the black serpent spirit pearl in my hand. It had finally surrendered to me completely. I could now use it to manipulate water and cast defensive barriers. It could even accelerate my cultivation speed, but compared to true Tao rhyme, it still fell far short. Just as I was reminiscing about the effects of the immortal fruit, Xiao Cheng suddenly walked in holding a small box. Master, here's the dragon tiger pill you asked for. It cost 50 taels of silver for a single pill. I took it from him and casually popped it into my mouth. My Tao rhyme immediately increased by 1/10 of a unit. That was equivalent to 5 whole immortal fruits. My face lit up with absolute thrill. So, those absurdly expensive medicines in the capital were very likely all spiritual elixirs. They all contained true Tao rhyme and immortal brew. But to my complete surprise, Xiao Cheng was just staring at me blankly from the side. Master Lu, should I find a girl for you? The medicine is kicking in. If you don't release that energy, it's going to seriously damage your body. But I just shook my head and explained, I've been practicing a set of internal martial arts lately. It requires a massive amount of dragon tiger pills to support it. I remember the 1,000 Phoenix Pavilion sells them. That's right, but there's a strict purchase limit on those. If you need a lot of them, you'll have to make a trip to the 1,000 Phoenix Pavilion yourself. I nodded. 50 immortal fruits yield 1 year of Tao rhyme, but cost 1,000 taels of silver. 10 dragon tiger pills also yield 1 year's worth, but only cost 500 taels. I currently have 10,000 taels of silver left, and I need to spend it fast. The capital is the only place where you can actually buy spirit medicines with money. I weighed the remaining banknotes in my hand. 8,500 taels seems like a lot, but when it comes to spirit medicines, it's just a drop in the bucket. One dragon tiger pill costs 50 taels, and only gives a tenth of a unit of Dao Rhyme. That means if I want to accumulate a full year's worth of Dao Rhyme, I need to spend at least 500 taels of silver on 10 pills. And to break through to the third level of the Dust-Crossing Dao Foundation, I still need at least 6 more units of Dao Rhyme. Doing the math, that's 3,000 taels of silver. After calculating this, I couldn't help but gasp. How is cultivation a path for ordinary mortals? This is clearly a road to heaven paved with pure silver. But the arrow is already on the bowstring. I have to shoot. I have no way back. The Thousand Phoenix Pavilion is located in the most bustling part of the capital's East Market. During the day, it's a money-burning pleasure house for nobles and officials. But after nightfall, it turns into a black market for a completely different kind of trade. I changed into an inconspicuous gray robe. Taking advantage of the dusk, I blended into the crowds of the East Market. Xiao Cheng had already pulled some strings for me in advance. I didn't need to go through the main entrance of the Thousand Phoenix Pavilion. Instead, I slipped straight in through a hidden door in the back alley. The guide was a crippled old man. Without saying a single word, he led me through a pitch-black underground tunnel. Every 10 steps along the tunnel, an oil lamp hung on the wall. The flickering flames stretched my shadow, making it constantly shift from long to short. I silently memorized every single fork and corner. This was a survival instinct drilled into me from years of living on the edge of life and death. Always leave an escape route in any unfamiliar place. That's the iron rule that has kept me alive until today. After walking for about the time it takes an incense stick to burn, the path ahead suddenly opened up. A massive underground hall appeared before my eyes. The inside was brightly lit. In the center sat a huge mahogany long table, and 7 or 8 people were already seated around it. There were wealthy merchants in fancy silk robes, as well as rough martial artists in coarse hemp clothes. There was even an emaciated old man wearing a Taoist robe. I found a quiet corner and sat down. I tried my best to look as inconspicuous as possible, but my eyes swept over every single person in the room. I tried to gauge just how deep the waters were here from their expressions. The crippled old man tapped a small bronze bell on the table. The bell rang with a crisp sound, and the hall instantly fell dead silent. A middle-aged man wearing a dark green robe stepped out from behind a folding screen. He had a gaunt face with high cheekbones. A shrewd gleam flashed in his sharp, triangular eyes. He introduced himself as a deacon of the Guishu Society. His surname was Zhou, and he told us to call him Manager Zhou. Manager Zhou cut right to the chase. The rules for tonight's pill testing assembly are very simple. Everyone here will demonstrate their ability to refine spirit medicines. The one with the best performance will gain access to the Guishu Society's exclusive spirit medicine supply channel. My heart skipped a beat. What did the word supply channel mean? It meant I would no longer be restricted by the purchase limits at the pharmacies. It meant an endless, steady stream of Dao Rhyme. But I also knew perfectly well that there's no such thing as a free lunch. For the Guishu Society to offer such a massive benefit, they must be plotting something huge. Once the testing began, I truly saw what it meant to have hidden dragons and crouching tigers around. That emaciated old man in the Taoist robe was the first to step up. He pulled a dark red pill from his robes, swallowed it, and immediately sat cross-legged to circulate his energy. In less than the time it takes to drink half a cup of tea, the pill was completely refined. Faint spiritual energy was actually rippling around his body. Manager Zhou nodded in clear satisfaction. This is the essence restoring pill. A normal cultivator would need 2 full hours to refine it. Yet, the old man only took the time of a single burning incense stick. He is truly a master. Next up was a wealthy merchant dressed in fancy silk. Even though his refining speed couldn't match the old man's, his unique technique totally made up for it. He actually managed to refine 3 pills at the exact same time. This drew gasps of sheer amazement from the crowd. When my turn came, I took a deep, steadying breath. I picked up a dragon tiger pill from the table and tossed it into my mouth. The very second the pill hit my stomach, the destiny core inside my body began to vibrate violently. Tao resonance poured into my dantian like a steady, flowing stream. The entire process took less than 10 breaths, and the dragon tiger pill was completely refined. The hall fell into a dead, eerie silence. Manager Joe's beady, triangular eyes snapped wide open. He stared dead at me, looking at me like I was some priceless, rare treasure. I had intentionally suppressed my cultivation, only showing off the strength of a chi refining stage cultivator. But even so, this crazy refining speed was more than enough to completely shock everyone in the room. Manager Joe instantly announced that I was tonight's winner, and invited me to the back hall for a private chat. The back hall was much smaller than the front, but the decorations were incredibly exquisite. Red sandalwood bookshelves were packed with ancient texts, and an incense burner with agarwood was lit up in the corner. The smoke carried a strange, medicinal scent. Manager Joe personally poured a cup of tea for me. His attitude was 10 times warmer than before. He kept beating around the bush, trying to dig up my true background. I just told him I was a minor merchant from the capital, who had stumbled upon some cultivation methods by pure, dumb luck. He didn't press the issue. Instead, he took the initiative to reveal more inside information about the Guishu Society. It turns out the Guishu Society had been secretly operating within the Great Jing Empire for years. On the surface, they were just a medicinal herb guild, but in the shadows, they were hoarding spiritual herbs from all over the world, even smuggling rare ingredients from overseas Immortal islands. The Dragon Tiger Pill was just the Guishu Society's most basic entry-level drug. Their true, ultimate treasure was a supreme-grade pill called the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Pill. Rumor had it that consuming this could instantly grant you 100 years of Tao resonance. It was the ultimate treasure that countless cultivators dreamed of. Hearing this, my heart literally skipped a beat. 100 years of Tao resonance. Do you have any idea what that means? It meant I could break straight through from the 3rd stage of Tao Foundation, all the way to at least the 5th stage. It meant that before Pei Qinfeng even noticed, I would have enough power to protect myself, and maybe even fight back. But I kept my face completely expressionless. I just gave a faint nod to show I was somewhat interested. Seeing that I was taking the bait, Manager Joe invited me to their headquarters in 3 days for a deeper talk, saying a real VIP would meet me in person. If I could pass the final test, not only would their spiritual herb supply channels be fully open to me, I might even get a real shot at the 9 Revolutions Soul Return Pill. Naturally, I said yes right away, but in my mind, I was already scheming. Why would a secretive organization like the Guishu Society be so incredibly generous, trying to recruit a complete stranger, a small-time merchant like me? Unless, what they had their eyes on wasn't me, but something I was carrying. 3 days later, I arrived right on time outside a totally plain and unnoticeable courtyard in the west of the city. This was the headquarters of the Guishu Society. The outside looked incredibly ordinary, but the inside was a whole different world. After passing through 3 hidden, secret doors, and walking down a long corridor completely rigged with deadly traps, I finally reached a secret room deep inside. The secret room wasn't large. All 4 walls were completely covered in densely packed runic symbols. Right in the center sat a stone table, and on top of it was a crystal ball the size of a fist. Faint streams of light were swirling inside the sphere. Manager Joe stood respectfully to the side. He told me the VIP would be here momentarily. As I was studying the ancient runes inside the room, I suddenly felt a violent palpitation in my chest. My destiny core was warning me. My instincts were screaming at me. Something incredibly dangerous was closing in. The heavy door of the secret chamber groaned open, and a middle-aged man in dark Taoist robes slowly stepped inside. He had a refined face and a long, flowing beard, looking very much like a gentle, well-read scholar. But his eyes, they were terrifyingly deep, as if they could pierce right through a person's soul. He stopped right in front of me, his gaze sweeping up and down as he studied me in silence. A slow, knowing smirk crept across his lips. Descendant of the Liu family, your destiny is quite fascinating. How about we make a deal? I will help you achieve immortality, and in return, you do one thing for me. My heart pounded in my chest. How on earth did he know my identity? And what did he mean by my destiny? Could he have actually seen through my floating world immortal fate? The air in the room instantly grew heavy. Steward Joe had already slipped out, though I hadn't even noticed. It was just me and this mysterious Taoist now, locked in a stare. In those bottomless eyes, lay a profound intention I couldn't begin to fathom. And I knew, from this moment on, I was being dragged into a much deadlier storm. Zhang Jizi's offer was simple and direct. He would give me the 9 Revolutions Soul Pill and the Void Returning Body Forging Art. In exchange, I steal the Destiny Monument, guarded by the dust-crossing sect deep beneath the capital. My heart was racing like mad as I listened, but I forced my face to show nothing but innocent confusion. "What is the Destiny Monument?" I asked, playing completely dumb. I put just the right amount of blankness into my eyes. Zan GZ clearly saw right through my little act, but he didn't call me out on it. Instead, he patiently explained. It holds the ultimate secret to true immortality. Whoever gets their hands on it holds the key to ascending to the heavens. My mind was spinning, waves of shock crashing through me. The secret to immortality. Wasn't this exactly what I had been dreaming of? But my rational side was screaming. If Zan GZ was casually handing over a secret this massive, he definitely wasn't giving me the option to say no. I lowered my head, pretending to think it over for a second, then looked up with a deeply flattered smile. I mixed just enough greed and eagerness into that smile to make it look absolutely flawless. Zan GZ looked very pleased with my reaction. He immediately pulled out a golden pill, about the size of a pigeon egg, and handed it to me. A soft, spiritual glow swirled across its surface. Just holding it in my palm made the destiny inside my body vibrate like crazy. "This is the 9 Revolutions Soul Pill. Swallow this, and it will instantly grant you 100 years of Tao Foundation. But you can only fully absorb its power after you finish the job. For now, I'll just unlock the first layer of its seal, just to give you a little taste." My fingers trembled slightly as I took the pill. Half of that was genuine shock, and the other half was just me putting on a show. But I knew exactly what was going on. This pill Zan GZ gave me was both a juicy bait and a heavy chain. Once I swallowed his gift, there was no backing out. I didn't hesitate. Right in front of him, I popped the pill into my mouth. The moment it hit my stomach, a wave of pure, glowing heat exploded through my veins and bones. My destiny core trembled violently. My Tao Foundation instantly skyrocketed from 2 years all the way to 12. At the exact same time, Zan GZ slammed his palm onto the top of my head. A torrent of profound martial techniques flooded right into my brain. The Void Returning Body Forging Art. A brutal technique that forged the physical body, completely bypassing the need for spiritual roots. It was far more ruthless and way more dangerous than the dust-crossing mantra Yun Luo had given me. Closed my eyes, feeling the agonizing flow of the technique, and was secretly blown away. This body-forging art forced the raw spiritual energy of the world directly into the physical body. To train it, you had to forcefully pull spiritual energy inside, using it to violently temper your bones and meridians. One tiny mistake, and your body would literally explode. But the payoff was insane. If mastered, just my sheer physical strength alone could crush a foundation establishment cultivator. Plus, the progression was insanely fast. As long as I had enough spiritual herbs to fuel it, I could master the basics in just a few short months. After burning the technique into my mind, Zan GZ dismissed me. Right before I left, he dropped one last detail. The Destiny Monument was buried deep beneath the capital, right inside the Imperial tombs. The entrance is right at the bottom of the Dragon Spring Well. The Dutchan sect has laid down heavy protective seals there. With my current cultivation level, it'll take at least half a month to crack them. He gave me half a month's time. After that, he'll come personally to collect the Destiny Steel. It was already late at night when I left the Guishu Society headquarters. Walking down the empty, sprawling street, the night wind whipped a bitter chill down my collar, but I wasn't the least bit sleepy. Xuanjizi said the entrance was at the bottom of the Dragon Spring Well. That reminded me of the giant snake I slaughtered, and that layer of rainbow-colored divine nectar at the bottom. So, beneath that ancient well, hid an even greater secret. For the next 3 days, I did my usual daytime patrols at the waterhouse, dealing with Pei Qinfeng's personal guards. But at night, I slipped down to the bottom of the Dragon Spring Well, feeling my way toward the Imperial tomb. The underwater channels down there were way more complicated than I ever imagined. That giant snake I killed was clearly no ordinary demon beast. It had carved out countless branching tunnels at the bottom of the well. Some passages had already caved in, while others plunged even deeper into the earth. Thanks to the water-controlling power of the Black Snake Spirit Pearl, I glided through the channels with ease. On the third night, at the very deepest part of the well, I finally found a flight of hand-carved stone steps. The steps spiraled downward, and the stone walls on both sides were covered in ancient runes. I'd never seen those runes before, but I could faintly sense the sheer power pulsing within them. The Dutchen sect's protective seals. I walked down those stone steps for a solid hour, until I finally reached a massive underground palace. Right in the center stood a stone monument, 30 feet tall. Pitch black, with an eerie blue spiritual light flowing across its surface. This was the Destiny Stele. I was just about to step closer, when rings of glowing runes suddenly flared up beneath my feet. A massive wave of force blasted me backward, slamming me brutally against the stone wall. I scrambled up, spitting out a mouthful of bloody froth, and finally got a clear look at the setup around the Destiny Stele. It was an incredibly complex array of defensive seals. The array patterns blanketed the entire floor of the palace, densely woven together like a giant spiderweb. I sat down cross-legged, channeling the Dutchen court technique to sense the rhythmic flow of the seals. An hour later, I found the core of the barrier. It was a spirit pill, hovering right in the center of the array. The pill was a deep crimson, radiating a hauntingly familiar scent. Staring at it, my pupils violently contracted. It was the origin elixir Yunluo had given me. It looked exactly the same. Even the pulsing rhythm of its spiritual light was absolutely identical. A million thoughts raced through my mind. When Yunluo gave me her origin elixir, she said it was a life-saving treasure the Dutchen sect had bestowed upon her. She said swallowing it would guarantee me a long life of 100 years. But she never told me that this very pill was the key to breaking this seal. The Dutchen sect sent her here to Great Jing, gave her the origin elixir, and had her handed directly to me. Was all of this really just a coincidence? Or, from the very beginning, was I nothing more than a pawn in their twisted game? I forced down the chaos churning in my chest and decided to pull out of the Imperial tomb for now. I needed time. I needed to uncover the true secret behind this origin elixir. By the time I got back to the surface, the sky was already growing light. I had just climbed out of the Dragon Spring well, when I saw a figure in white standing right by the edge. It was Yunluo, with her back to me. The pale moonlight stretched her shadow out long over the ground. She didn't turn around, but her voice drifted clearly into my ears. Where have you been sneaking off to these past 3 nights? Alarm bells started screaming in my head, but I kept my face deadpan. I just told her I couldn't sleep, so I came out for a walk. She finally turned around, those crystal clear eyes locked right onto mine, hiding emotions deep down that I couldn't read at all. Slowly, she reached out, and pressed her hand against my chest. The freezing touch of her palm made my whole body stiffen. A split second later, an unseen force forced its way into my mind. I could feel her mind-reading power tearing through my thoughts. I desperately channeled my mantra, trying to build a mental wall. But that wall was as fragile as paper against her. She pulled her hand back, her face turning pale. You've been to the royal tombs. You're trying to steal the steel of destiny. I didn't deny it. I knew there was no point in lying anyway. I looked right at her. Why did you give me that life-bound elixir? Was your sect planning to use me from the very beginning? Yunluo froze. She clearly didn't expect me to ask her that. She stayed silent for a long time before speaking, her voice laced with exhaustion. That elixir was indeed given to me by the sect to protect my life. But giving it to you was my own choice. I had no idea it would become the key to the seal. And I never thought you'd take things this far. Her explanation made my heart soften for a moment, but reason quickly took over again. What happens if the steel is moved? Yunluo's face turned grim. She looked at me and said, the steel is the core of our sect's formation to suppress the Ascension grounds. Once it's moved, heaven's suppression over the entire empire will shatter. Every single suppressed cultivator will instantly regain their powers. And Pei Chin Feng has been secretly consuming tons of spirit herbs all these years. The heavens just kept him locked in the chi condensation stage. The second that suppression lifts, he will immediately break through to the foundation level. A foundation level Pei Chin Feng, combined with the military power he already holds, will make him completely unstoppable in the capital. Hearing that sent a violent chill right down my spine. Zhang Jizi never told me any of this. He couldn't care less about what happens to the empire. He didn't give a damn if Pei Chin Feng seized power. All he wanted was the steel. I was just about to speak when a bone-piercing chill suddenly swept in from behind me. A dark shadow lunged out of the darkness, moving way too fast for me to even react. I barely had time to turn away before I saw Yun Luo jump right in front of me. Zhan Jizi's palm slammed brutally into her chest. She was sent flying backward like a kite with a snapped string. She crashed violently against the stone wall of the well, coughing up a massive mouthful of blood. The red stained the moonlight, completely horrifying. I rushed over and caught her in my arms. I could feel her life force fading away in seconds. I looked up, glaring fiercely at Zhan Jizi. My eyes were practically overflowing with pure murder, but he didn't even glance at me. His eyes were fixed on Yun Luo, and a twisted, calculated smirk crept onto his face. With a simple flick of his hand, the life-bound elixir flew straight out from Yun Luo's clothes. It landed perfectly in his palm. He held it up to his eye level, examining it for a moment. His eyes were burning with greedy triumph. He looked down on Yun Luo, who was lying in a pool of her own blood. Then he looked back at me with a chilling, deeply sinister smile. Grabbing the unconscious Yun Luo, Zhan Jizi vanished into the dead of night. I struggled to get up and chase after him, but a sudden, agonizing pain ripped through my chest. I looked down. At least 3 of my ribs were snapped, and my organs had been crushed by the shockwave of his strike. I gritted my teeth and forced myself up, dragging my broken body back toward the city. I had to find a way to save her, but the moment I stumbled near the Dragon Bridge, I saw blazing torches lighting up the street ahead. A squad of armored guards was searching every corner. The captain leading them was holding up a wanted poster. I caught a glimpse of it from a distance. My heart completely dropped. The face on that poster was mine. The crime? Colluding with demonic forces to murder fairy Yun Luo. That bastard Zhan Jizi played a vicious game. Not only did he kidnap her, but he also firmly nailed the label of a traitor right onto my forehead. Pei Chin Feng already wanted me dead anyway, and now with this massive target on my back. He's definitely going to do everything in his power to wipe me out completely. I spun around and ducked into an alleyway. Relying on my knowledge of the terrain, I weaved through the darkness. Before long, the heavy footsteps of my pursuers echoed behind me. The blazing light of their torches lit up the entrance to the alley. But I didn't make a run for the city gates. Outside the city, the terrain was flat and wide open, with nowhere to hide. Instead, I circled back to the Dragon Bridge waterways. It's a maze of intersecting canals and dense bridge arches, the place I know best. I'd hidden in those waterworks for 5 whole years. Every hidden culvert, every sluice gate, and even the exact position of every stone slab. I knew them all by heart. The pursuers closed in fast, with Pei Chinfeng leading the charge himself. He was riding a massive warhorse, followed by at least 50 of the Royal Manor's elite guards. Their torches lit up the entire long street, making it as bright as day. I didn't panic. At the very first fork in the road, I deliberately let them see me. I lured the pack right into the most tangled part of the Dragon Bridge waterways, where bridge arches connect to more bridge arches. And hidden culverts loop into more culverts. For an outsider, going in there is like stepping into a deadly maze. When the first elite guard caught up, I was already hiding behind a bridge pier. My Guijun spear thrust out silently, its tip sliding flawlessly right through the gap in his armor. The guy fell into the water without even making a single sound. The second guard heard the splash and rushed over. I channeled my energy into the Black Serpent Spirit Pearl. Suddenly, the river beneath the bridge surged up into a massive wall of water. It completely blocked his line of sight. By the time he broke through the water wall, the tip of my spear was already pressed against his throat. After taking out 2 of them in a row, the rest of the pursuers finally realized something was terribly wrong. But the layout of the Dragon Bridge waterways was just too alien to them. All they could do was wander around blindly with their torches, above and below the bridges. Meanwhile, I was like a slippery loach, fading in and out of the shadows in the canals. In less than an hour, my Guijun spear had already drank the blood of 13 elite guards. Every single strike was precise and fatal. No flashy moves, no wasted energy. Just pure instinct, forged on the razor's edge of life and death. Pei Chinfeng finally lost his patience. He leapt off his horse and walked onto the stone bridge next to the Dragon Spring Well, all by himself. The moonlight washed over him, and I could clearly see the dense spiritual energy surging around his body. The Foundation Establishment Realm. He really had broken through to Foundation establishment. Zhan Jizi wasn't lying to me. After the seal on the Steel of Destiny weakened, he was the very first one to reap the benefits. Pei Qinfeng stood on the bridge. He raised his hand and slammed a palm strike right at the surface of the water. The water in the entire canal instantly surged backward. The massive shockwave blasted me right out of the bridge arch I was hiding in. I crashed hard against the stone slabs by the well. A thick, metallic sweetness welled up in my throat. My internal Dao aura had been completely drained during the earlier fights. In the face of a Foundation establishment expert, my second stage dust-crossing cultivation was as fragile as a paper lantern. Pei Qinfeng looked down at me from above. He slammed down another palm strike. My entire body was blasted straight down into the Dragon Spring well. I heard the howling wind rushing past my ears, and then, freezing cold water swallowed me whole. The well water flooded into my nose and mouth. I struggled desperately as I sank deeper and deeper. Deep at the bottom of the well, the underwater tunnel left by that giant snake I had slain was still there. Using every last ounce of my strength, I swam inside. Utter darkness consumed me. The current dragged my body along, sweeping me through the narrow, twisting passage. I couldn't remember how long I was washed away like that. All I knew was that my mind was growing fuzzier by the second, as if my whole being was melting into this endless blackness. Just when I thought I was absolutely dead for sure, my body was suddenly hoisted up by a strange force. I slammed onto a stretch of freezing cold ground, gasping violently for air. I struggled to pry my eyes open, only to find myself lying in the middle of a stone chamber. The chamber wasn't very big, and its four walls were completely smooth, as if carved out stroke by a sharp weapon. 3 withered skeletons sat cross-legged in the center of the stone chamber. The Taoist robes on their bodies had long since rotted away, leaving only a few scraps of cloth hanging on their frames. Beside the skeletons lay a jade slip and a porcelain bottle. 4 characters were carved into the jade. I crawled over and picked it up. The moment my fingertips brushed against the jade, the destiny core inside my body started violently trembling. Those 4 characters seemed to hold some kind of dark magic, making the blood in my veins completely boil. Mantra of the floating world. I stared at those 4 words, and countless flashes of memory raced through my mind. The founding master from 3,000 years ago, who achieved immortality without the mandate of heaven. The heaven-defying man Yunluo had spoken of. His legacy was hidden right here, in this cave at the bottom of the well. I clutched the jade slip tightly, a bitter smile tugging at my cracked lips. Pei Qinfeng threw me down this well, but he had no idea of the massive fortune waiting for me at the bottom. He thought that palm strike would kill me. Little did he know, he was handing me the path to immortality. I sat cross-legged in front of the skeletons and pressed the jade slip against my forehead. A massive flood of information rushed into my mind. This immortal mantra resonated perfectly with my destiny core. It felt as if it was custom-made just for me. According to the records in the jade slip, a floating world immortal doesn't need immortal destiny to cultivate. All they need is immense worldly experience and the tempering of heavenly treasures. I opened my eyes and looked at the porcelain bottle beside the skeletons. The moment I popped the cork, a rich, almost tangible medicinal aroma washed over my face. Inside the bottle were 3 pills, milky white all over, with golden patterns swirling across their surface. 10,000-year marrow. Just 1 pill grants 1,000 years of Tao resonance. 3 pills. That's 3,000 years. I took a deep breath, and popped the first pill into my mouth. The moment it reached my stomach, my destiny core exploded like a lit powder keg. 3,000 years of Tao resonance surged into my limbs and bones like a burst dam. I could feel my cultivation level skyrocketing. Tao Foundation Stage 2, Stage 3, Stage 5, Stage 7, it surged all the way to the peak of Stage 9 before barely coming to a halt. A half-step golden core. I was only a paper-thin barrier away from the true golden core grade Tao. Just as I was about to push through to the golden core realm, a faint light suddenly flickered from the skull of one of the skeletons. A phantom slowly drifted out from the remains. It was an old man with pure white hair and a flowing beard. He had a kind face, but his eyes were as sharp as daggers. The phantom didn't say a word. He simply raised his hand and pointed. Instantly, rows of glowing text appeared on the surrounding stone walls. I squinted to read them. and my heart violently skipped a beat. The flow of time in this cave was entirely different from the outside world. One day outside was 1 year inside. I could cultivate here for 10 years, and only a single day would pass out there. I froze on the spot. It took me a long time to finally snap out of it. Master of the floating world, this rogue immortal from 3,000 years ago, was still scheming even after death. He had calculated perfectly that someone would eventually find this place. He knew the one who arrived would need time, so he left this cave behind. I didn't waste a single minute. I sat right back down and threw myself into rigorous training. By the first year, I had mastered the crossing dust sword mantra, advancing from the first 3 forms all the way to the 7th. Every swing of my sword drew upon the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The sword light flashed like a brilliant ribbon of silk. By the 3rd year, I had honed the returning truth spear to absolute perfection. The spear struck like a soaring dragon. I could unleash 36 thrusts in a single breath, and every single thrust pierced precisely the exact same spot. By year 5, I had completely mastered every treasure refinement method in the True Spirit Treasure Manual. Using the Serpent Spirit Pearl as my core, I refined 36 ordinary iron swords into flying swords. Each one moves at my mere thought, as natural as an extension of my own arm. By year 7, I began merging the mortal dust sword art with my flying sword techniques. 36 swords unleashing the art all at once. The power easily rivaled the full force strike of an early golden core cultivator. In year 9, my cultivation finally broke through the half-step golden core bottleneck. I officially stepped into the golden core realm. Sure, it was only the early stage, but with 3,000 years of Tao essence backing me up, my foundation was terrifyingly deep. I was miles ahead of anyone in the same realm. Then came year 10. I perfected the first layer of the mortal world immortal art, completely awakening my true destiny. A faint golden mark appeared right between my eyebrows. The signature crest of Immortal World Immortal. I stood up and stretched my joints. 10 long years of grueling cultivation had completely transformed my body. Every single inch of muscle was packed with explosive power. The void ruined body refining art, combined with the mortal world immortal art, made my physical flesh just as tough as a magical treasure. I turned to the skeletal remains of the mortal immortal and bowed deeply. Then, I grabbed the last 2 pieces of 10,000-year marrow, turned around, and walked out of the cave. By the time I climbed out of the well, it was the dead of night. Moonlight shimmered across the water's surface. I took a deep breath of the crisp outside air, and for a moment, it truly felt like a lifetime had passed. Near the well, Pei Chin Feng's hidden sentries were still posted. 2 royal guards were huddled in a corner, dozing off. They obviously assumed I was already dead at the bottom of the well. Their guard was completely down. I didn't bother waking them. I activated the Serpent Spirit Pearl, turning my body into a wisp of watery mist. I drifted silently out of the well. The 2 guards didn't even notice someone brushing right past them. I headed straight for the Thousand Winds Pavilion. That was the Void Ruin faction's territory, and the last place Xiao Cheng was locked up. The pavilion's guards had tripled since my last visit, but to a golden core cultivator like me, these mortal fighters were absolutely nothing. I summoned 3 flying swords and silently dropped the 4 guards at the back door. Not a single sound was made. I found Xiao Cheng locked in an underground cell, absolutely covered in brutal scars. He'd clearly been through hell. The second he saw me, his eyes immediately welled up with tears. I broke him free from the iron chains. I fed him a healing pill. He swallowed it down, taking a good moment to catch his breath. Finally, his voice rasped out the terrible news. Young Luo had been taken to the altar of heavenly mandate outside the city. They were going to use her for a blood sacrifice in 3 days. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug right into my palms. Zan Gz, Pei Chin Feng, this blood debt, I am going to make you pay for it, drop by drop. I told Xiao Cheng to stay hidden in the city and heal. I slipped into my dark stealth gear and headed to the outskirts of the altar, all alone. The altar was built on a desolate mountain top. It was completely surrounded by blazing torches, lighting up the entire peak as bright as day. I hid myself deep in the shadows of a massive tree, and peered out at the altar. Right in the dead center stood the monument of heavenly mandate. Young Luo was chained right to it. Her white clothes were stained dark with blood, and she was barely breathing. Down below the altar, Pei Chin Feng was on his knees. He was groveling right in front of Zhan Jizi. Looking as pathetic as a common servant, Zhan Jizi stood there with his hands behind his back, wearing a sickeningly smug smile of absolute victory. I watched it all from the suffocating darkness. A tsunami of pure, murderous rage boiled up inside my chest. Because at this very moment, I finally saw the entire board of their twisted little game. And now, it was my turn to make a move. I take a deep breath, blending into the shadows. There are at least 30 guards stationed around the altar. But these mortals pose no threat to me anymore. I decide against a frontal assault. Instead, I slip along the cliff face toward the north side of the altar. That is where their defenses are the weakest. Since the north face is a sheer drop, they'd never expect anyone to scale the cliff. Channeling the black snake spirit pearl, I cling to the rock face like a gecko, inching my way up. Digging my fingers into the crevices, I pull myself over the altar's outer edge without making a sound. Young Luo is chained in front of the destiny steel. The bloodstains on her white dress are sickening under the moonlight. Her breathing is incredibly faint. That bastard Zhan Jizi has clearly drained a massive amount of her lifeblood for his blood sacrifice. I clench my fists, fighting back the urge to rush in. First, I need to check out the surrounding array. Just as I thought, there's a massive array hidden beneath the altar floor. The runic lines are masked by a thin layer of dirt. If I hadn't already broken through to the Golden Core realm, I wouldn't have noticed a thing. I channel the floating world immortal art, and the golden mark between my brows begins to burn slightly. The eye of truth opens. In a flash, the world before me completely transforms. The ground beneath the altar is crawling with a dense web of runes, every single line pointing toward the exact same spot. It's a trap specifically designed to counter cultivators with the Crossing Dust Foundation. The moment you step inside, the array violently rips the spiritual energy right out of your body. The harder you fight, the deeper you sink. Zhan Jizi really did predict I'd show up. He even guessed I'd use the Crossing Dust technique to save her. But he miscalculated one crucial detail. I am no longer that lowly retainer stuck at the third tier of the Tao Foundation. Instead of walking into his trap, I summon 36 flying swords. The blades glint with a bone-chilling light under the moon. I form the hand seals. All 36 swords shoot out at once, striking like 36 bolts of silver lightning. They plunge straight into the nodes of the array. The entire formation quakes violently. Blinding spiritual light erupts where my swords sever the runes. Zhan Jizi instantly darts out from a tent behind the altar. The moment his eyes lock onto mine, that smug calmness of his finally shatters. He clearly never expected me to crawl out of that well alive, let alone that I'd broken through to the Golden Core realm. But his shock barely lasts a second. He completely unleashes his mid-stage Golden Core power. A crushing wave of spiritual pressure bears down on me, but I hold my ground. I recall my 36 swords, forming a protective curtain of blades to block the sheer force. Pushing the eye of truth to its absolute limit, I unleash the 7th stance of the Crossing Dust Sword art. All 36 swords shift their trajectories in perfect sync. Every single blade strikes with pinpoint accuracy, slicing right into the weak spots of his surging aura. His attack is shattered before it even forms. The backlash of spiritual energy runs wild inside him, forcing him to stagger backward. Zhan Jizi's face turns green with rage. He can't believe it, even with his cultivation a full minor stage above mine. I'm still backing him into a corner. In a panic, he rapidly slams his palms down. The ground around the altar explodes. Dozens of twisted, dark shadows erupt from the earth. They morph into thrashing, demonic claws, swiping right for my throat. But I don't even flinch. The eye of truth has already exposed their weak points. 3 swords peel away from my formation, and pierce the core of the demonic claws at wicked angles. The dark energy instantly vaporizes, scattering into ash. Meanwhile, Pei Chinfeng has been hiding behind the altar this whole time, watching the fight. But now, he finally loses his nerve. He charges out from the shadows, gripping a longsword crackling with spiritual energy, and aims a cowardly thrust right at my back. A sneak attack from a foundation-building punk is practically a joke to a Golden Core master. I don't even bother looking back. thrust my spear backward with a flick of my wrist. After 10 bitter years of training, my mastery of the true essence spear is flawless. The strike is as fast as lightning. The tip of my spear effortlessly knocks his blade out of his hands. Without losing any momentum, the shaft of my spear violently smashes right into his chest. Pei Qinfeng let out a horrific scream as he flew backward, crashing hard into the blood pool beside the altar. The pool was filled with the foul blood and monster remains that Zhan Jizi used for his blood sacrifices. Pei Qinfeng thrashed and struggled in the gore. The tainted blood corroded his skin, instantly melting his flesh into a gruesome, bloody mess. I cast a cold glance at Pei Qinfeng howling in the blood pool, then shifted my gaze back, closing in on Zhan Jizi. My 36 flying swords shifted formation once more. The 8th stance of the crossing dust sword art was fully charged and ready to strike. A flash of pure madness crossed Zhan Jizi's eyes. He suddenly spun around and lunged at the destiny steel. He slammed his palm right onto the stone. The protective seals on the destiny steel detonated in an instant. An apocalyptic wave of spiritual light exploded from the monument. My pupils shrank in sheer terror. That blast was enough to level the entire mountain. I had no time to dodge. I could only push myself to the absolute limit, commanding my flying swords to form layer after layer of defensive shields. Just as the blinding light was about to swallow me whole, a figure in white suddenly threw herself in front of me. Yun Luo had somehow broken free from her chains. She spread her arms wide, burning the very last drop of her spiritual energy to conjure a fragile, thin shield that wrapped around the both of us. The massive shockwave from the explosion slammed into the shield. Yun Luo's body trembled violently under the impact. Fresh blood poured from the corners of her mouth, but she gritted her teeth and held her ground. She didn't take a single step back. Finally, the devastating shockwave began to fade. The shield shattered into pieces. Yun Luo collapsed limply into my arms. The destiny steel was completely blown apart, its broken fragments scattered everywhere. And Zhan Jizi had already used the chaos of the explosion to escape without a trace. I sat kneeling on the ground, holding Yun Luo tightly. Her breathing was as faint as a fragile thread, ready to snap at any second. In the blood pool, Pei Qinfeng's screams were slowly dying down. But I didn't care about him at all. Yun Luo rested in my arms, struggling just to open her eyes. Those usually bright, clear eyes were completely dim and lifeless. In a whisper so faint I could barely hear it, she asked me why I bothered to save her, saying that she was the one who stole my destiny back then. I looked down at her fragile face, and gave her my very first genuine smile, completely free of any schemes or calculations. That life-bound immortal pill let me live past 30. If it weren't for that pill, I would have died 5 years ago. That pill meant I owed you my life. Now, I'm simply paying that life back to you. Yun Luo fell into a deep, heavy slumber in my arms. I picked her up and carried her out of the ruined altar. Behind me, a golden spring of spiritual water gushed from the shattered remains of the destiny steel, radiating an insanely pure and dense spiritual energy. I only caught a distant glimpse of it, but I could instantly feel my inner destiny resonating wildly. But I didn't look back. Right now, the only thing that mattered was keeping Yun Luo alive. I brought her back to our courtyard in the city. Xiao Cheng had already recovered from his injuries. Seeing us return, he immediately rushed to clear out the best room for us. I gently fed Yun Luo a healing pill, and channeled my true qi to mend her shattered meridians. Her injuries were catastrophically severe. Zhan Jizi's palm strike had practically pulverized her heart meridian. If she weren't the holy maiden of the Crossing Dust sect with such a unique physical constitution, she never would have survived this long. 3 days later, Yun Luo finally woke up. Her face was still deathly pale, but she was finally able to get out of bed and walk around. Over those 3 days, the capital had undergone a world-shaking transformation. With the destiny steel shattered, the suppression of the heavenly Tao had completely collapsed. The spiritual veins beneath the city, dormant for 3,000 years, were finally awakening. Countless hidden cultivators suddenly came out of the woodwork. People were breaking through cultivation realms right there on the streets. Others were digging up ancient, dust-covered magical treasures from the ground. The entire capital had turned into a massive, chaotic madhouse. When I dragged Pei Qinfeng out of that blood pool, He didn't even look human anymore. The tainted blood had melted off half of his face. One of his arms had been corroded right down to the bone. His cultivation base was completely destroyed by the vile pool. He was now weaker than a mortal. I dragged him straight to the capital's execution grounds to be publicly beheaded. On the day of his execution, Pei Qinfeng knelt on the chopping block, screaming like a lunatic. "I am the chosen one. The emperor will never let you get away with this. The Pei family will make you beg for death." The watching crowd pelted him with rotten cabbage and stinky eggs. This once high and mighty ninth prince was now worse than a stray dog. The executioner's blade flashed down, and that once proud head rolled across the dirt, splashing a pool of blood. When the news finally reached the Imperial palace, the Taoist emperor flew into a rage, vowing to send his army to hunt me down. But before he could even issue the decree, the violent backlash from his spirit veins sent him into chi deviation. This emperor, so obsessed with immortality, went completely insane overnight. He spent his days babbling absolute nonsense in the palace. The ninth prince's entire faction was ruthlessly purged by the united court officials. In just a few short days, the great Jing dynasty was teetering on the brink of collapse. Feudal lords across the land were itching to make their move, and rebel armies were rising up in every corner of the realm. But I couldn't care less about any of that. I've finally seen through the empty power and wealth of this fleeting world. It's all just smoke and mirrors. I handed the Waterhouse business over to Xiao Cheng. That idiot cried and complained that he didn't know how to keep the books. I just tossed him a ledger and told him to figure it out himself. Then, I turned my back and left the capital with Yun Luo. We made our way down to the glowing golden spirit spring, deep at the bottom of the dragon spring well. The spring had grown more than 10 times its original size. The entire bottom of the well was flooded with blinding golden light. The moment I stepped into the water, my destiny core flared to life like a blazing torch. Scalding heat surged through my entire body. Yun Luo stood quietly at the edge of the spring, watching me. And then, she revealed the darkest secret of the dust-crossing sect. The reason the sect was so desperate to find the elixir of immortality is to resurrect an ancient immortal sealed away in their ancestral mountain. And the key to bringing him back was the blood of a fleeting world immortal. Once that ancient being awakens, he will devour every drop of spiritual energy in the world to ascend alone. When that happens, there won't be a shred of hope left for any other cultivator. Every single cultivator will become nothing but fuel for him, including me, including every soul who walks the path of cultivation. Without a second thought, I sat cross-legged in the center of the spring and began my closed-door meditation. I had to ascend to immortality first, before that monster could wake up. 49 grueling days. I refined 2 drops of 10,000 years spiritual marrow. I absorbed every drop of immortal essence the spring had hoarded for 3,000 years. My cultivation skyrocketed from the early golden core stage to mid-golden core, then early nascent soul. Every single breakthrough brought down the wrath of heaven. When the first bolt of tribulation lightning struck, I was nearly blasted to a crisp. But my eye of truth saw right through the lightning's path, and my fleeting world immortal core forcefully tanked the shockwave. Mid-nascent soul, then early soul formation. The lightning strikes were getting more and more violent. By the time the 9th bolt crashed down, half of the dragon spring well completely caved in. Mid-soul formation, early body integration. The golden glow of the spirit spring finally started to dim, but my power was surging like a runaway horse. Mid-body integration, early Mahayana. The spring was practically bone dry now. The very last wisp of golden light vanished into my forehead. Wait, no. Mid-Mahayana. Tribulation stage. The final heavenly lightning was here. This was a monstrous strike forged from 81 bolts of thunder, packing enough power to wipe an entire city off the map.